Welcome to Follow the Money. One of our Connect programs is on Thunderbird Thursdays and also part of Thunder Week Winter Quarter 2021. My name is Malai Lupe Samifua, he, him, his pronouns, and I just want to welcome you to our event for today. We'll be talking about advocacy and how you can make sure that you have a say in where your money goes to. And I just want to introduce our team for today.
Hi all, thanks for coming to the first Thunderbird Thursday of the year. It's good to see some familiar faces and some new folks and names, which is always awesome. So my name's Georgia Peary. I am the club's programs leadership advisor. I use she, her pronouns. And this Thunderbird Thursday, we are featured with two other great people part of the center. So I'm gonna invite Marta and Samantha to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Marta Reeves, Program Manager for the Center for Leadership and Service, and also the advisor for our Services and Activities Fee Budget Committee. And I'll let Samantha introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Samantha Sebring and I am the Community Budget Coordinator. I am also the Sna Committee Budget Chair and I'm excited to be here.
I also forgot to mention that I am the interim international engagement leadership advisor. I'm sorry. And I get to oversee some really cool teams of student leaders here on campus. So our global student ambassadors, our Anapeasy students, and our Puente students as well.
Sorry about that. Spoilers on the slides, y'all. All right. So my dog might bark in a second, but whatever. There it is. Hey, come here. You're fine. And so just a little icebreaker to check in with each other. In the chat, put like what seal are you today? Which number are you? Just so we can, get a little take on how we are doing today as we enter this space together.
See a lot of 7s, some 9s, some 2s.
I don't know what 3 is doing either, Anish. I think it's more like the whiskers are going on. His whiskers are frozen, which I don't know if that doesn't sound very comfortable. So I told Lupe earlier I was a 4. I'm definitely more of a 2 right now. It's definitely the afternoon, like nap time is definitely hitting me, but still excited to share this space. And my dog is too, apparently. So, whatever. Great. Thanks for that check-in, y'all. And now we're going to move on to the land acknowledgement.
When they asked me for the mail, when will the mail come?
Sorry, I didn't catch that, Ying. Maybe if you want
it still gave me highlight face mask, center pocket counter planner, center hand sanitizer, center tote bag, center sticky notebook. When will I get that in the mail? That's my question.
I'm not sure, but it should be coming soon. So you can just be patient and give our United States Postal Service some grace. There's a lot of things going on in the country, so it'll get there eventually.
Yes,
well, thank you for signing up for that, Ying.
Yes. Hey, Georgia, when do I get it in the mail?
Like Lupe said, we're just going to let the USPS do their best job. Don't worry about that. I wouldn't be worried about that too much right now.
I won't worry about it. I'll deal with it. I'll worry about it later.
Sounds good.
All right.
Awesome. And so before I go into the land acknowledgement, I did want to say that if you haven't checked in, please do so. It's in the chat box. We want to make sure that we account for everyone who was able to come through today, and we thank you for being here. So for our land acknowledgement, specifically with the topic that we're covering for today, we wanted to acknowledge the places and the roles, or the place and role that money and capitalism have played in the lives of Indigenous peoples. The Pacific Northwest region is known as an ecosystem of startup companies birthing multi-billion-dollar companies such as Microsoft, Boeing, and Amazon. Our country prides itself on being the land of the free, but it often turns a blind eye to the many injustices towards First Nations people that the forefathers of this country were they themselves trying to escape. As we begin our gathering, we respectfully acknowledge that our event today is taking place on occupied Coast Salish land and waters that Highland College sits on, also on the homelands of the Duwamish people. We pay respect to Coast Salish elders past and present and extend that respect to their descendants and to all Indigenous people. To acknowledge that to acknowledge this land is to recognize its longer history and our place in that history. It is to recognize that these lands and waters and their significance for peoples who have lived and continue to live in this region, whose practices and spiritualities were and are tied to the land and the water, and whose lives continue to enrich and develop in relation to the land, waters, and other inhabitants today. So you'll see on our slide here, we have the different tribes and First Nations and peoples that make up what is now known as the state of Washington. If we go to the next slide, please. If you're wondering how you can give back, one way is to visit Real Rent Duwamish. And so the Duwamish tribe is located in the majority of the Puget Sound area where Seattle sits. You can visit realrentduwamish.org and see, you can actually pay rent there. Another way is to support local Indigenous businesses and organizations. There's a lot of them that exist, and they're either restaurants or online businesses. And these are ways that we can really pay homage and tribute to the people who we owe so much to. So thank you.
Thanks, Lupe. So before we get started, we just wanted to, in our usual manner, go over some community guidelines. So we invite you to bring your whole self into this event. Whatever identities you hold that are very salient to you and others maybe that aren't so salient, we invite you to just bring whoever you are, and especially how you're feeling today, especially in the midst of all the current events, and we're all still surviving a global pandemic. We recognize that. And so we invite you to bring your whole self. We also invite you to step up and step back. If you're a person who doesn't usually talk in Zoom meetings, we invite you to use the chat. If you feel called to unmute yourself, please do. And then if you're also someone who's usually like, I'm usually the first person to say something when they pose a question, maybe I'm gonna actually use the chat more this time, or I'm gonna wait till I know that person might wanna say something first. So we invite you to just challenge yourself a little bit. And one mic, one diva. And so if someone's speaking, just let them have their time. Try not to speak over them. And this is another way to use the chat feature too, to engage in conversation with them. If they're on a roll and they're trying to say something, you don't really want to cut them off, but maybe you can use the chat to like ask them a question in the middle of it. And at this time, we wanted to open up if anyone wanted to add anything to the community guidelines for us. You can unmute yourself or you can use the chat. That's also cool. If you all are don't yuck my yum. Yes, thanks, Matt. So don't yuck anyone's yum. If someone is saying something that maybe you don't totally agree with, there's no really need to put that you think it's gross or you totally disagree. Just hear them out and hear what they're trying to say. And Jermaine says, lessons leave stories. That's how I think it is. Do you mean like what is said here stays here, but what is learned here leaves here? Is that kind of what you mean, Jermaine? Okay, cool.
Thanks, George.
Lessons leave stories. I haven't heard that one, but if it's the same meaning, then I totally get it. So if someone maybe shares and is really vulnerable in this space, let's not, repeat their story, but maybe you can say what you learned from it. And using those I statements, especially when you're saying what you learned from it, is especially great. Thanks, Jermaine, for that one. Yes, and thanks, Amy, for the reminder. This is being recorded, and so keep that in mind if you decide to share, because we are going to upload this to our CLS YouTube page. So just keep that in mind if you really want to share, other people might see it. But we also celebrate that if you want to share and be vulnerable with us. Dan, we don't have an agenda posted. Us behind the scenes, we are definitely following a little script, an outline. And so we just know that we're going to have some great activities for you to engage in, and we're going to be talking about money and leadership. All right, I think. Please keep posting your community guidelines in the chat. This is a conversation that can happen throughout the whole event. So I'm going to start us off with, why is this important? Why are we talking about money and leadership? And all the other Thunderbird Thursdays, we've talked about what's your personality type and how does that affect your leadership style. We've talked about how your values, affect your leadership. We've talked about collective care and given you a lot of information on that and how it's really great to take care of yourself to be a good leader. And so why are we not talking about money? Money's gross. And so I wanted to just start us off. I found this quote. So not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted. So I'm going to share with you my interpretation of this quote. So to me, money is something that can be counted. It's quantifiable. Whereas we think of leadership and the traits and the skills of leadership as something you can't really put a number to. However, leaders must learn how to manage and allocate resources, right? And as student leaders, all of you in the room, and some staff too, you all have voices and power to say where you want money spent at the college. So we chose this topic to give you a brief look into how you all as students have a say and a right to engage in the process of how money is spent. Because as you'll learn later, it's your money and you're paying it, and we're trying to do the best that we can with it. So, and I know when I was starting off, when I was an undergrad and I was a student leader, I thought money was a really hard thing to talk about. It intimidated me. It made me anxious. I mean, it still kind of makes me anxious if I'm being real with you all. But I'm thankful for the mentors that I had in undergrad and especially in grad school, who exposed me to the processes of how they handled money in their leadership roles and how they spent it. And they gave me the experience of learning how to be sustainable with my resources. And so I think a part of this is we're kind of trying to break down that stigma of like money is something that we shouldn't talk about. And it's something that makes us nervous. It can still make you nervous, but maybe we can talk about it in a very empowering way. And I think if you all know more of how money is spent at Highline and how much you can be involved, you'll be more confident when you want to talk about it. I'm going to pass it on to Lupe.
Awesome. So we would like to do a fun activity with everyone before we get into talking about Sna funds. So our scenario is that we're going to split you off into smaller teams. You and your team members have $1 million. We have a budget for a design project to enhance student experience on campus. And so you have 3 options here. So your team can only choose one. So you have to decide amongst your team which one you'd like to choose, and then also explain why you're going to choose that option. So our 3 options are 3 additional cafe or bistros on campus. The second option is building an outdoor sports stadium. And the third option is to create a Thunderbird Express shuttle that will transport students to various locations. So different moving people from the different parking lots, the Mass Center, located at Redondo Airport, South Center, places that our students need to get to. And so we're gonna split you up into teams, not really teams, but just smaller groups, and you can discuss which option you would like to choose, and then we'll come back as a group and share out.
Any questions before I open the breakout rooms? All right.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Thank you for participating in the activity. So for those of you who are just joining us, we gave all the students a scenario where you and your team have 100 or 100, $1 million of a project to enhance student experience on campus. And they had three options, three additional cafe or bistros, or to build an outdoor sports stadium, and the last option was to create a Thunderbird Express shuttle to get students around campus and also to different locations such as Mass Center, Airport, South Center. Um, and so I would like to hear from a few of our groups. So I'm not going to volunteer you, but I would like some brave souls if you are willing to share what your group talked about, what option you chose and why.
Hello, I'm Nichelle Page, and I was a part of Group 4. And we all pretty much agreed on the Shuttle Express. Amazing ideas, from finances and how to grow it and create projects around the shuttle. Two people talked about how important it is that it's accessible and available with like a trusting relationship, like this is going to be on time, I'm counting on this to get me to and from classes or wherever I need to go to. So kind of building that relationship of that trusting relationship that they're going to be there. And then the other part was to events, when students want to attend either like a basketball game or say even an outside community event. And this could be an option. We also talked about funding for it, not really double dinging students because you've already paid the money, but at the same time, how can the community begin to support if they were able to use the shuttle, or students who were at the level of after expending a certain amount of trips may have a reduced fee to continue using the services. So those are some things that we talked about.
Awesome. Thank you, Group 4, for sharing. That was amazing. Who else would like to share today?
My team, I was in the first breakout room, and we also agreed on the shuttle being like really good for students for transportation. And then we also talked about some of the problems that some students have with paying for a parking pass and then like sometimes not being able to have access to parking spots. So like being able to maybe park in another place, have the shuttle bring you or something like that would be really like beneficial towards a lot of students, since there isn't a lot of parking land around for Highline to be expanding on. So yeah, that's just one of the things we talked about.
All right, thank you, Group 1, for sharing, Jermaine. Great ideas. And I remember someone in the group in Group 1 talking about having to climb that hill all the way to the main part of campus. That hill is killer. If you can't find parking nearby, good luck. All right, did anyone choose option 1 or option 2? I'd love to hear your reasons why.
Well, let's choose like a cafe so people can buy drinks and stuff. But like what Jermaine mentioned, like build like a parking garage and like so you can like when we're on campus, we just have to pay for parking, get a parking pass. But in a parking garage, it can be bigger, so there will be like a something on top. I don't know what's it called, but people can walk in to go through the campus.
Yeah,
Stuff like that. And then the parking lot in the campus is like so old, it should get remodeled and paved. Like they should like tear it up and just remodel it so the roads won't be bumpy.
Yeah, great points, Ying. I just wanted to see if anyone from anyone chose option 1 or option 2, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if not, we can move on to the next section.
Yeah, for at least for the group that I was in, we kind of decided for the stadium, because we were thinking like it can be beneficial for the students, where students can, you know, also study outside, at least in the spring and summertime. And also the Highland College can also host, you know, outdoor events for students to participate. And also, you know, be beneficial for the, I guess, Highlands teams kind of thing. But not only that, it can also benefit like the community itself, right? Where the community can actually come in and utilize the actual stadium itself, right? To use it for like, you know, playing soccer or baseball or something like that, or football. So was some of the reasons that we kind of came up with as to, you know, if I were to use $1 million, that it will probably go to the stadium.
Yes, thank you so much, Hector, for bringing that up. And I love that you all took this activity and like expounded on that. Like I was just thinking of some main answers to the question, but y'all really thought about our community, and that's so amazing, because our school is not just for the students, right? We have a lot of people from the community that are using these resources as well. And so that's pretty cool that we all thought of those things. So kudos to everyone for participating in the activity. And Ying, to your point, there are people in this room that are the exact people that you need to have those conversations with. So if anyone has other ideas of how we can use these monies, stay connected to the people who are in this discussion, and particularly the next people who are going to be presenting something cool.
Okay. Again, I'm Marta Reeves from the Center for Leadership and Service. I'm a program manager and also the advisor for our Services and Activities Fees Committee, also known as SNA. So what this committee is a subcommittee, very unique subcommittee of student government, and we allocate funding for all the co-curricular and extracurricular activities on campus. So how do we get that money? And that money comes from being earmarked. 10% of your tuition goes into this fund so that we can provide these services. And the college has agreed also, because Running Start students don't pay into don't pay typical tuition, and international students are paying a lot more. They provide a tuition equivalency to match that 10%. So we're getting 10% for each student, regardless of their status. So basically, this current year, we have about 64 active program lines, and we allocated about $3.3 million to be used for co-curricular and extracurricular activities. That's a lot of money for all the stuff. But what's nice about Highline is that we took great care over the years to create a program that's called forward funding. And so we have the vision of only spending the money that we have already collected. So we're always using the 10% from 2 years previous. And so that allows us to kind of know where our budget will be, so we're not shocked when we get there and have to cut programs. So we ended up in this 64 active programs, we have one program that's called Contingency Funds, and that's administered by our student government, and that's a minimum of 5% of what we previously allocated. And those funds are accessible through student government meetings through the budget managers of the programs. And we call it our small piggy bank. Then we have fund balance, which is any of the money that programs didn't use the previous year. And any interest we receive on funds. And so we have to hold 20% in reserve for catastrophes, but the rest of it is available. We currently have about 4 million in fund balance available. So that's where we have that. And you will also see when you pay tuition that you pay $25 per quarter, no more than $25 per quarter, to fund the mortgage on our Highline Student Union. And that was a bond that the students made 20 years ago to have a nice building. So where we can have activities and meet as community. So now I'm going to turn it over to Sam.
Hi again, Samantha. I am the Community Budget Coordinator and the SNA Committee Budget Chair. And regarding this, where can students learn about SNA funds? The link will be put in the chat if you want a general overview. The link will also be put in the chat to how SNA uses their current allocations, where our funds are going. And then if you want to read the Student Government Financial Code, that link will also be in the chat. You can learn the rules and processes that we follow. I also want to introduce our SNA committee. It consists of 7 members. I'm the budget chair. We have 2 students from student government, Hector and Jarmaine. And then we have Albana, Audra, Min, and Daniel, who are also here. And I'll pass it back to Marta.
So some of the programs that this committee over the years have advocated for and fought for is the following. First and foremost, as I talked about previously, they wanted to fund a new student center. So that was for the mortgage on the building. We've got 2 more years on that mortgage and it'll be paid off. So the other things that we have funded over the years, once you get back on campus, you'll be able to use the new fitness center. And that has all new equipment that came from this fund. Also, we've done the community greenhouse and garden so that students can participate in learning how to grow food for sustainability. We provided a covered entrance over building 6 so that if you're waiting for a ride or access bus, you would be undercover in our horrible winter weather and spring weather sometimes. And then we have committed $600,000 to help with a future soccer field. The rest of the money, of course, is going to have to come from fundraising. And so that's still a work in progress. One of the things that the students advocated really hard for last year was to make sure during this tough time of COVID and us being remote, that we could continue to fund student leadership paid positions. And that was first and foremost that we fund. And so the committee last year said, let's do that. Since we can't travel right now, we took a lot of our travel money that's usually allocated and put that in to student wages. And so a lot of the positions in CLS and CCIE are funded, as well as numerous ones across campus. All right, Sam.
So next we're going to be playing a Kahoot, which I think Georgia has, okay.
Have it ready. Bear with me. This is my first Kahoot that I've made, and I've never had to share my screen and do the Kahoot, so have some grace with me. Thank you. Okay. Also, I learned that you can change the music. So
Ready.
what we're gonna do, because if I have to hear this original Kahoot music one more time, we're gonna see what 85 says. All right, I'm gonna hand it back. I'm gonna turn it down.
What name should I put, Georgia?
Sorry, Ying, what's your question?
What name should I put?
Whatever name you want.
Can I put my cousin's name or my name?
You can put whatever name you want. If you want to put your cousin's name, that's fine.
I put David. Paul, are you playing?
What's up?
Are you playing? Or
Yeah.
What name are you gonna put?
I don't know yet.
Okay. I played this with my teacher in high school, Paul. See, I didn't say her name.
That's good.
Should be the new original music for the Kahoot.
Thank you. Yeah, there are like options. You do not have to listen to that original anymore if you don't want to. Is that everyone? Is everyone who wanted to play? Sam, I will start this for you.
Georgia, you're gonna request to do full screen?
Oh, thank you.
Oh God. Georgia, we wish we could do it in person, but we can't.
So what percentage of tuition is set aside for SNA? Marta totally told you all this, so let's see.
Yes, 9.
I don't know if Sam or Marty wanted to chime in on this, but go for it.
Just as we said before, 10% is earmarked for SNA.
All right, who's in the lead? Maya's in the lead. So I have to move y'all's faces on my screen or I can't see. All right.
And our next question is, which capital project was funded by SNA? It was all of the above. Oh, Maya's still in the lead.
I'm David, so. You see my name, Samantha?
I do. Next question. What does SNA stand for?
Ah, my.
For service and activities.
I get that wrong.
Maya is still in the lead.
Ma, you're in the lead. Yay, good for you.
Okay, the Sna Committee is a subcommittee of what? Student government. Oh no, Alona, you are up there. Is the Sna Committee student-led? It is student-led.
One person got it incorrect. Who is that?
Alona, you're on fire.
I'm 300 score from her.
What does the Sna Committee not fund?
I don't know this answer.
It's a hard one. We do not fund teachers' salaries. Oh, Maya's back on top. Okay. Last question. What group does not vote to approve Sna allocations?
Oh, you playing this game?
The Highline Faculty Senate.
You wheezy. Nice.
Great job, Maya.
Awesome, Maya.
Congrats, Maya.
Okay. Moving on. So I want you guys first to answer the first question if you have any ideas. Why is student voice important in how Sna funds are spent? Does anyone want to guess, have an answer?
I think having students speak up, having student voices for how Sna funds are allocated. A lot of the Sna funds are done because they're like funded for programs that are meant to serve students and be kind of like resources for students. So students could speak up about what they think would be good, where they want their money spent, then that will better help the students with their college experience.
Yeah, that was an amazing answer. Yeah, just getting to hear students' ideas of how you guys want funds spent. You can always reach out to the Sna committee, both students and staff members, because we always love to hear what you guys think. Also, if you guys, if you have any ideas about a specific program, I would say first go to that program and ask where their funds, if they're being funded through Sna, and what their funds are already being used for. Moving on to the next question, how can students raise their voice? Does anyone want to answer that? Hector said these funds are our money, so it is vital to be involved on deciding where it is spent. Yes. Okay, to add on to that, how students can raise their voice, they can participate in the programs that are sponsored by Sna. In doing that, attendance and the surveys assist in helping which programming topics are most useful for the students. If you are in a club or are a club leader, you can also attend student government meetings to approve allocations, and those happen every other Tuesday from 1:15 to 2:15. I'm pretty sure that time is right. Another way is you can apply for a committee to be on the committee for next year, and that happens during fall quarter.
So may I say something in the chat?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that is what you said is true. If it's funded through Sna, yeah.
I said the funds is when Highline can pay for food during events or build something in Highline, like building a parking garage.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is very true. As for this, get involved. As I just said, you can apply to be on the committee for next year, and that doesn't happen till fall quarter, but an email is sent to your student email, and then you just fill out the application and do the interview. Marta said being a club organization representative as student government. Yeah. Again, those meetings are every other Tuesday from 1:15 to 2:15. And yeah, if no one has anything else to add, I will pass it on to Georgia and Lupe.
Thanks, Sam and Marta. And so that kind of concludes our program, but we really did want to spend some time if you all have questions. Marta and Sam are sticking around. Again, a huge thank you to Marta and Sam. I think what we really envisioned for this program was like being like your students and you have the power to raise your voice. And then Marta and Sam come in with the literal concrete example of how you were able to do that at Highline. So does anyone have any questions or lingering comments about the topic of money and leadership?
Are money and leadership the same, Georgia?
I don't think they're the same, Yang. I think part of being a leader, though, and maybe in whatever role that you have, and sometimes that means having like a title with your leadership role, you will be tasked with how do I use my resources? And one of those resources is going to be money. So maybe you're given a budget. And I think that is something to start thinking about, especially as a college student. How do you use money to better your community? And so I don't think money and leadership are the same, but I think in our world, which is a very capitalistic society, you're going to run into money when you are a leader. Does that answer your question, Ying?
Can you say that again?
You want me to say the whole thing again, Ying?
No, can you repeat the question? It does answer my questions.
Okay, you had a great question. To repeat my answer though, I don't think money and leadership are the same thing, but I think when you're a leader, it's really good for you to learn how to allocate your resources sustainably.
Okay.
If you
Sorry
wanna,
about that, Joey.
no, you're fine. I was just kidding around, Ying. It was just a joke. If you want to talk more about it, we can have a one-on-one too, and we can talk more in depth about this.
Yeah.
Cool. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Feel free to put your question in the chat box. If that's
Mhm.
something you're more comfortable with.
Was some of this new information for any of you? Did you know that part of your tuition was earmarked for certain programs? Was that new information for anyone? Or maybe what's one thing you'd learned from Marta and Sam's presentation? Feel free to put it in the chat or unmute yourself.
Who muted me?
I'm not sure who muted you, Yang, but if you're not gonna say if you're not gonna answer the question that I just asked, then how about we keep ourselves muted so there's not background noise, okay?
What if I don't have any questions? I won't say anything. I'll just keep myself muted so no one can hear anything on my background.
Sounds good.
Georgia, I'm going to jump in and say some of the programs that we do fund, just kind of a little short list. We fund all of the athletic programs on campus. We fund the intramural program, so you can play sports during the week if you don't want to be a student athlete. We fund the students who work in the tutoring center that provides you guidance at the tutoring center. We fund these types of programs through Center for Leadership and Service and CCIE. We fund things like MLK Week, Thunder Week, LGBTQIA Week, student awards. So that's just a few of the things that your funds are spent on. The link that was shown earlier will take you to a complete list of the programs that are currently funded and the breakdown of what they were funded last year before last and this current year, or last year and this current year. And so feel free to ask me or Samantha or any professional staff if you have any more questions.
And then I just wanted to point out Lily's comment in the chat. So Lily said, it's nice to see how all funds are placed when tuition is paid. So going back to the title of this, it's nice to see that you can follow your money. You know, when you pay for a class, you can see where it's being spent. And that was kind of the purpose of this. We wanted to make sure you all had that knowledge. Does anyone else have anything they want to share? Any new things they learned at this program?
Can we maybe drop in the link for the Highline College budget page so they can see what that advisory committee's doing? You do have a student representative on the college side too, and that's Samantha with Jermaine also adding voice. And so that also, when they're making cuts to programs or classes or furloughing staff or closing for furloughs, those are all discussed in there. We don't make the decisions, but we give our opinions of what we think should happen. And then those decisions are made by college administrators. So that is on the, Amy, that's on the resource tab, administrative services, budget office, from the ThunderNet. And then at the very bottom of the page, which is our budget advisory committee. But right above that will be previous breakdowns of how the college, where they put their money, whether it's salaries, buildings, maintenance, all sorts of stuff. We fund like our supplies for our programs, travel for students to places when we can travel. I think a lot of students have been really helped out by going to some of those things, conferences. And I know Lupe's taken some people down to the Anapisi conference, I think for 2 years. So that's one of the things. Winter Leadership Retreat and Student of Color Conference. So those are all things that are funded also with your money.
Thanks, Marta. That's a good reminder too. It's one of the cool things about being at a public institution is this information is, the school has to tell you where the money is going, and it can all be found on the website. So shout out to Amy, our moderator whiz in the chat, who got the link. So thank you for that. And thanks, Marta, for also mentioning Winter Leadership Retreat. If no one else has like questions or anything, you can also reach out to Marta, Sam, me, or Lupe, anyone on the leadership programming team if you want to talk more about this topic. But we're just gonna go into some super cool announcements. So this is tomorrow's our last day of Thunder Week Winter Welcome. So we hope to see you tomorrow. Our Global Student Ambassadors, which is another team in the Center for Leadership and Service, will be having a global welcome from 12 to 1. The Zoom information can all be found at that link in the chat. And then we also have the Center for Cultural and Inclusive Excellence. It really wants you to come and invite you to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Week. That is next week. There are some amazing programs and amazing speakers. It is all virtual, and so this is also open to the community. And the theme is Democracy for Whom? Examining MLK's 3 Evils. And the full schedule with all the Zoom links and information, and also bios on the presenters, so you can kind of know who you're going to be seeing in those webinars, is all at that link also in the chat. And then, as Marta mentioned, something that is funded by Service and Activities Fee is Winter Leadership Retreat. And so this retreat is going to be all virtual this year, but know that the leadership programming team has been working very, very hard on how to make it as engaging as possible. And we are going to be focusing on how to create community and connection in a virtual world. So if you're especially thinking like, it's really hard for me to find some human connection, you're feeling pretty isolated, or you do have those friends and you're like, let's all go to Winter Leadership Retreat, please register, please register. The priority deadline is tomorrow at 5 p.m. We do ask that you register. It's completely free, so that you can get a cool swag bag. That's one of the ways that we're trying to make this as engaging as possible. And we also ask that you answer a reflection question. You can answer in an essay format. You can also record yourself and send that in. If you're an artist, you can use that avenue and submit an art piece. Or if there's another way that you feel like you can answer the reflection question, just reach out. And then, as always, stay connected with us. Follow us at CLS at CLS Highline on Instagram, Facebook, and also CCIE Highline on Instagram and Facebook. And thank you for coming, y'all. We really appreciate it. And this has been a great Thunderbird Thursday. We will see you next month. No, we will see you actually in March, because our Winter Leadership Retreat will be taking place in February.
So in 2022 of February, will it be in person?
I can't answer that for you, Ying. I really wish I could. I wish I could see the future very clearly, and I wish I could tell you I know exactly when we'll be back on campus, but I don't. And so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna get really excited about this virtual one that's coming up in February, and then we'll worry about 2022. Let me get through 2021, Ying. All right, and then we'll talk. How about that?
Sorry, Georgia.
No, I'm just joking, Ying. It's all good.
So I'll worry about that later. So
Yeah.
So the slides you share, can you send that to my email?
Yeah, I'll send it to your email, Ying.
The yesterday's clubs leader, can you send that one to me?
There weren't actually a lot of slides at that one, Ying. I don't think you need those slides.
Just send me the today one.
Sounds good.
All right. My apologies, Georgia.
You're okay, Ying.
Do I need to be sorry?
Nope.
Okay. Well, good. I like free. You saw that on my chat, Georgia?
I'm able to see the chat once I stop screen sharing. Sometimes sharing your screen and seeing the chat is kind of hard. So let me catch up in the chat, Ying, while maybe Lupe closes us out.
Yes, I'm going to close out with some music. Thank you everyone for joining us today and for just building community and holding space with us. We appreciate all of you. Have a great day.